Captain Jake Morrison stood at the bridge of the UES horizon and watched space bend and twist in front of him. The stars looked wrong now, and the darkness seemed to move like water. His crew worked at their stations, but everyone kept looking at the main screen. Something big was coming through space, and it was not from Earth. The first ship appeared like a crystal growing from nothing. It was huge and shiny, and made of something that looked like blue glass. Then another ship came, through the strange space, and another after that. Jake counted 10 ships, then 20, then 50. He stopped counting at 100 because more ships kept appearing. Admiral Lisa Grant spoke through the communication system from Earth Command. Her voice sounded calm, but Jake could hear the worry underneath. Earth had been waiting for this day for many years. Everyone knew that other life existed somewhere in the galaxy, but nobody knew when they would show up at Earth. Dr. Kevin Barnes moved to stand next to Jake at the front of the bridge. Kevin was the best scientist Earth had for studying alien life. He had spent his whole life getting ready for this moment. His hands shook a little as he watched the alien ships form a perfect line in space. The alien ships were beautiful in a way that made Jake feel small. Each ship looked like it was carved from a single piece of crystal. Blue and green lights moved through the crystal walls like lightning trapped in glass. The ships were at least 10 times bigger than anything humans had ever built. Lieutenant Ben Carter worked at the communication station. He tried to send messages to the alien ships using every language and code system Earth knew. For 3 hours, nothing happened. The alien ships just floated in space like sleeping giants. Then the aliens talked back. The voice that came through the speakers was strange and musical. It spoke in perfect English, which surprised everyone on the bridge. The voice belonged to someone called Fleet Commander Zalthek of the Zephyrian Confederacy. The name sounded like wind blowing through metal tubes. Fleet Commander Zalthek explained that the Zephyrian Confederacy had been watching Earth for some time. They knew that humans had developed space travel and were now ready to join the greater galactic community. The way he said it made it sound like humans were children who had finally learned to walk. Jake listened as the alien commander described how things worked in the galaxy. There was a system and rules that all species followed. New species, like humans, were given a choice. They could accept protection from the Confederacy and follow their laws, or they could be removed as a threat to galactic peace. Dr. Kevin Barnes wrote notes as fast as he could. Everything the alien said was important. The Confederacy ruled over thousands of worlds and hundreds of different species. They had been in power for over 1,000 years. No species had ever said no to their offer of protection. Admiral Lisa Grant joined the conversation from Earth Command. She asked about the terms of this protection. Fleet Commander Zalthek explained that humans would give up their weapons and their independent government. Human ships would be limited to their own solar system unless they had special permission to travel. Human technology would be controlled by the Confederacy to make sure it was not dangerous. Jake felt anger growing in his chest. The aliens were not offering protection. They were demanding surrender. He looked around his bridge and saw the same anger on his crew faces. These people had worked their whole lives to reach the stars, and now aliens wanted to put them in a cage. But Jake was a smart man and a good captain. He knew that anger would not help humanity now. The alien ships could probably destroy Earth without much trouble. Humans needed to be clever, not angry. Jake asked Fleet Commander Zalthek if they could have some time to discuss the offer. The alien commander agreed, but said they would only wait for 1 day. After that, humans had to give their answer. Dr. Susan Walsh joined the meeting through video link from her office on Earth. She was the smartest person alive when it came to understanding different cultures. She had an idea that might help humanity. Susan suggested that before any big decisions were made, the two species should learn about each other. She wanted to share human culture with the aliens so they could understand what kind of people humans really were. Maybe if the aliens knew humans better, they would offer a different kind of deal. Fleet Commander Zalthek seemed interested in this idea. He said the Confederacy always studied new species before making final decisions. A cultural exchange would be acceptable. He would watch whatever humans wanted to show him. Jake felt a small hope growing in his heart. Susan was brilliant. And if anyone could find a way out of this situation, it would be her. He told Fleet Commander Zalthek that humans would prepare a presentation about their culture and history. The alien commander agreed to wait for this presentation. He seemed curious about what humans might show him. Most species just showed their art and music and then accepted Confederacy rule. He wondered if humans would be any different. After the communication ended, Jake called a meeting with his senior staff. They had less than 24 hours to prepare something that might save human independence. The weight of their entire species' future rested on what they would show these aliens. Engineer Amy Rodriguez suggested they show human technology and science. Lieutenant Commander Rachel Foster thought they should demonstrate human military capabilities. Dr. Kevin Barnes wanted to focus on human intelligence and problem-solving abilities. But Susan had a different idea. She wanted to show the aliens something that no other species had probably ever shown them. She wanted to show them what it meant to be human when everything seemed impossible. She wanted to show them how humans survived when they should have died, and how they grew stronger from every disaster. Jake approved Susan's plan. Tomorrow they would show Fleet Commander Zalthek and the Zephyrian Confederacy exactly what kind of species humanity really was. They would show them why humans deserved to keep their freedom and reach for the stars on their own terms. The alien ships waited in space like patient hunters while humanity prepared for the most important presentation in their history. Dr. Susan Walsh worked through the night in her office on Earth. She had access to every piece of human history and culture that had ever been recorded. The weight of choosing what to show the aliens felt heavier than carrying the whole world on her shoulders. Lieutenant Ben Carter helped her organize the files from his station on the UES horizon. Together they built a presentation that would tell the story of humanity in a way the Zephyrian Confederacy had never seen before. They started with things that seemed safe and normal. The presentation began with human art. Susan showed the aliens paintings from every culture and time period. She displayed sculptures and buildings and music that demonstrated human creativity. The alien commander, Fleet Commander Zalthek, watched with mild interest. Most species had art, and the human examples seemed primitive compared to Zephyrian crystal sculptures. Then Susan showed human literature and poetry. She selected pieces that showed human imagination and the ability to dream of better worlds. She included stories of exploration and discovery. Fleet Commander Zalthek commented that human imagination was stronger than most species, but still nothing unusual for a developing civilization. Dr. Kevin Barnes joined the presentation to explain human science and technology. He showed how humans had learned to split atoms and travel to space and cure diseases that had killed millions. The aliens seemed impressed by human learning speed, but pointed out that many species developed similar technologies. Engineer Amy Rodriguez demonstrated human problem-solving by showing inventions that changed everything. She explained how humans turned problems into opportunities. When humans needed light, they discovered electricity. When they needed to travel faster, they built machines. When they needed to fly, they studied birds and built airplanes. Fleet Commander Zalthek listened politely, but Susan could tell he was not impressed enough. Everything humans had shown so far was normal for a species ready to join the galaxy. The aliens expected art and science and technology. Susan knew she needed to show them something different. That was when Susan changed direction completely. She began showing the aliens human history, but not the proud moments. She showed them the disasters and the wars and the times when everything seemed hopeless. She displayed images of cities destroyed by earthquakes and entire populations wiped out by diseases, and continents torn apart by fighting. The alien commander leaned forward in his chair. Most species tried to hide their dark history when meeting the Confederacy. They wanted to appear peaceful and civilized. But humans were showing their worst moments to advanced aliens who could destroy them. Susan showed them the Great War where millions died in trenches filled with mud and poison gas. She showed them the Second Great War where entire cities disappeared in nuclear fire. She displayed famines and plagues and natural disasters that should have ended human civilization. But then Susan showed them what happened after each disaster. After the Great War, humans built better governments and tried to prevent future wars. After the nuclear attacks, they turned the same technology into clean energy that powered their cities. After every earthquake, they built stronger buildings. After every disease, they created better medicine. Fleet Commander Zalthek watched humans rebuild from the ruins of their own mistakes over and over again. He saw them learn from every failure and grow stronger from every loss. Most species either avoided disasters or were destroyed by them. Humans seemed to use disasters as stepping stones to become better. Amy Rodriguez showed the aliens how humans had survived ice ages that lasted thousands of years. She explained how they had lived through asteroid impacts and supervolcano eruptions and massive climate changes. Every time the planet tried to kill them, humans found a way to not just survive but thrive. Dr. Kevin Barnes displayed data about human population growth after each major disaster. The numbers were impossible according to Zephyrian science. Species that faced extinction-level events either died out or took thousands of years to recover. Humans bounced back in decades and often ended up with larger populations than before. Susan showed the aliens something else that made Fleet Commander Zalthek very uncomfortable. She showed them how humans helped each other during the worst times. When cities flooded, strangers rescued strangers. When earthquakes struck, people shared food with enemies. When diseases spread, doctors worked until they died to save patients. The alien commander had studied many species, and most of them became selfish and cruel when resources were scarce. Humans seemed to become more generous and cooperative when things got bad. This behavior made no sense according to Confederacy understanding of how intelligent life developed. Lieutenant Ben Carter showed communication records from human disasters. When the asteroid hit the Pacific Ocean and caused massive tsunamis, humans around the world sent help immediately. Countries that had been at war stopped fighting to rescue survivors. People gave money and supplies to places they had never heard of. Fleet Commander Zalthek asked why humans helped strangers when helping their own families would be more logical. Susan explained that humans saw all other humans as part of one big family. They could not be happy if other humans were suffering, even if those humans lived on the other side of the planet. Amy Rodriguez demonstrated how human cooperation worked in space. When accidents happened on space stations, crews from different countries worked together perfectly. Language barriers and political differences disappeared when human lives were at risk. The aliens had never seen anything like this level of natural cooperation. Dr. Kevin Barnes showed brain scans that proved humans were physically changed by helping others. Their brains released chemicals that made them feel good when they helped someone else. Evolution had made humans happier when they cooperated than when they competed. The presentation continued for hours as Susan revealed layer after layer of human nature. She showed how humans turned their greatest weaknesses into their greatest strengths. Their short lifespans made them work harder to accomplish their goals. Their fragile bodies made them build amazing tools and machines. Their violent instincts made them better at protecting those they loved. By the end of the presentation, Fleet Commander Zalthek sat in silence for a long time. He had watched hundreds of species join the Confederacy, and none of them had shown him anything like this. Humans were not just another primitive species learning to use technology. They were something the galaxy had never seen before. Susan waited for the alien response and hoped she had chosen the right path. She had shown the aliens everything that made humans dangerous and everything that made them beautiful. Now she could only wait to see if the Confederacy would see humans as a threat or as something much more valuable. Fleet Commander Zalthek turned off the communication link with the human ship and called for his science advisor. Commander Telvar arrived within minutes carrying data tablets and looking worried. The Zephyrian science officer had been analyzing everything the humans had shown them, and his conclusions were disturbing. Commander Telvar explained that humans displayed the behavioral patterns of what Confederacy scientists called apex persistence predators. This was a classification that most galactic species thought was extinct. These were creatures that never gave up hunting and never stopped growing stronger. They were the nightmares that destroyed entire ecosystems. Fleet Commander Zalthek studied the data with growing alarm. Humans showed pack-bonding behavior that was stronger than any species the Confederacy had encountered. They would sacrifice themselves for individuals they had never met. They would fight to the death to protect children that were not even their own offspring. The human presentation had revealed something that made Commander Telvar very nervous. Humans did not just survive disasters, they used them as opportunities to evolve. Every time their environment tried to kill them, they became better adapted to survive the next threat. This was not normal intelligent behavior. Most species reached a point where they stopped changing and focused on maintaining stability. Humans seemed incapable of staying the same. They were always pushing boundaries and exploring new territories and developing new technologies. They were a species that could not stop growing. Commander Telvar showed his commander the human population data. In just the last 100 years, humans had gone from primitive agriculture to space travel. Their technology advancement rate was 10 times faster than any species the Confederacy had on record. At this rate, humans would surpass Zephyrian technology in less than 50 years. But the really frightening part was how humans spread across their planet. They lived in every environment from frozen wastelands to burning deserts. They had colonized the bottom of oceans and the tops of mountains. They built cities in places where no intelligent life should be able to survive. Fleet Commander Zalthek realized that humans were not asking to join galactic civilization. They were preparing to take it over. Maybe not intentionally, but their nature made peaceful coexistence impossible. Humans would keep growing and exploring and pushing until they had consumed everything in their path. The Confederacy had rules about species like this. They were classified as galactic threats and had to be controlled before they could spread beyond their home system. It was not personal. It was just necessary for the stability of all other life in the galaxy. Security Chief Pete Williams noticed the change in the alien fleet formation before anyone else on the UES horizon. The crystal ships had been floating peacefully in space, but now they were moving into attack positions. Their weapon systems were powering up, and energy readings were climbing rapidly. Captain Jake Morrison watched the tactical display with a sinking heart. The aliens had decided that humans were too dangerous to be allowed freedom. The cultural presentation had backfired completely. Instead of showing humans as peaceful neighbors, it had revealed them as potential conquerors. Admiral Lisa Grant received the updated threat assessment from Earth Command. Military satellites detected massive energy buildups in the alien fleet. The Zephyrians had enough firepower to destroy every major city on Earth in less than an hour. Human weapons were toys compared to what was pointing at their planet. Lieutenant. Commander Rachel Foster worked frantically at her tactical station, trying to find any weakness in the alien fleet. The crystal ships had energy shields that could stop anything humans could shoot at them. Their weapons could punch through any armor Earth had ever built. In a straight fight, humanity would lose in minutes. Dr. Kevin Barnes tried to open communication with Fleet Commander Zalthek, but the alien commander was no longer taking calls. The only message coming from the alien fleet was a simple ultimatum. Humans had 1 hour to surrender completely or face immediate military action. The surrender terms were even worse than the original offer. Humans would be relocated to a single continent on Earth under Confederacy supervision. All human technology would be confiscated. No human would be allowed to leave Earth ever again. The human species would essentially become prisoners on their own planet. Captain Jake Morrison called an emergency meeting with his senior staff. They had less than 60 minutes to find a solution that could save human civilization. The situation seemed completely hopeless, but Jake had not survived 20 years in space by giving up when things looked bad. Engineer Amy Rodriguez suggested that humanity try to negotiate for more time. Maybe if they could delay the attack, they could find a diplomatic solution. But Dr. Susan Walsh pointed out that the aliens had already made their decision. Talking would not change minds that were set on seeing humans as threats. Lieutenant Ben Carter proposed that Earth try to contact other species in the galaxy. Maybe some member of the Confederacy would support human independence. But Commander Telvar had already explained that no species had ever successfully resisted Confederacy authority. Dr. Kevin Barnes had been studying the alien ships and noticed something interesting. The crystal hulls were beautiful, but they might also be a weakness. Crystal could be shattered if hit with the right frequency of sound or energy. But human weapons were not designed to exploit this kind of vulnerability. Nicole Thompson joined. The meeting through communication link from Earth Diplomatic Corps. She had been working with world leaders to prepare humanity's final response to the aliens. Every government on Earth agreed that surrender was not acceptable. Humans would rather die free than live as prisoners. But Nicole had an idea that might give humanity one last chance. She wanted to ask Fleet Commander Zalthek for a demonstration. If the aliens were so sure that humans were dangerous, then they should be willing to prove why the Confederacy was superior. Give humans a chance to show their best efforts before destroying them. Captain Jake Morrison thought the idea was brilliant. Humans had nothing left to lose and everything to gain. If they could convince the aliens to allow a demonstration, then maybe they could show the Confederacy something that would change their minds about human nature. Admiral Lisa Grant approved the plan and opened communications with the alien fleet. She spoke directly to Fleet Commander Zalthek and requested one final meeting before hostilities began. She wanted to demonstrate human capabilities so the aliens would understand exactly what they were destroying. Fleet Commander Zalthek was curious despite his caution. The human admiral sounded confident, even though her species faced complete annihilation. He agreed to watch one demonstration of human abilities before beginning the attack on Earth. But he warned Admiral Grant that nothing humans could show him would change the Confederacy decision. Humans were too dangerous to be allowed independence, and that was final. The demonstration would just satisfy his scientific curiosity about what apex persistence predators could accomplish. Admiral Grant smiled as she accepted the alien terms. She had been waiting her whole career for this moment. Humanity was about to show the galaxy exactly what they were capable of when their backs were against the wall, and everything they loved was threatened. The aliens thought they understood humans, but they had only seen the surface. Now they would learn what it really meant to wake up a species that had survived ice ages and asteroid impacts and world wars. They would discover why humans had never stayed down, no matter how hard the universe tried to knock them out. Fleet Commander Zalthek had no idea that he was about to witness something that would change galactic history forever. Admiral Lisa Grant gave the order that every human in the solar system had been waiting to hear. Operation Solar Gambit was now active. Within minutes, every human ship station and settlement began moving according to a plan that had been decades in the making. Fleet Commander Zalthek watched from his command ship as human vessels appeared from locations throughout the solar system. They had been hiding ships behind asteroids and moons and space debris. The Zephyrian sensors had detected less than half of the actual human fleet. But ship numbers were not what shocked the alien commander. It was how the human ships moved. They performed maneuvers that should have been impossible according to Confederacy physics. Human vessels used gravity wells as slingshots and rode solar radiation like winds to achieve speeds that no ship their size should reach. Commander Steve Parker coordinated the demonstration from Aurora Station, which had been disguised as a simple research facility. As the station unfolded and revealed its true size, Fleet Commander Zalthek realized that humans had been preparing for this day much longer than anyone suspected. Engineer Tony Rodriguez transmitted technical data that made Commander Telvar check his instruments 3 times. Human ships were powered by fusion reactors that were more efficient than anything in the Confederacy fleet. Their engines used principles that Zephyrian scientists considered theoretical impossibilities. The most disturbing discovery was that humans had been intercepting Confederacy communications for years. They had reverse-engineered alien technology from stolen transmissions and improved on designs that took the Zephyrians centuries to develop. Human engineering was not just advanced, it was revolutionary. Captain Jake Morrison demonstrated tactical coordination that made the alien military advisors very nervous. Human ships moved in perfect formation across vast distances without any central command structure. Each ship captain made independent decisions that somehow combined into a unified strategy. Dr. Susan Walsh explained to Fleet Commander Zalthek that this was how humans always worked. They did not need orders from above to cooperate with each other. Every human understood their role and trusted others to do their jobs. This created a flexibility that rigid command structures could never match. Lieutenant Commander Rachel Foster showed the aliens something that violated every rule of space combat. Human ships shared power and resources in real time during battle maneuvers. When one ship needed more energy for shields, Others would transfer power instantly. When ammunition ran low, nearby ships would share their supplies. The Zephyrian fleet used individual ships that fought alone even when grouped together. Human ships fought as a single organism with hundreds of separate parts. If you destroyed one ship, the others would adapt and fill the gap immediately. There was no central weakness to target. Engineer Amy Rodriguez revealed the secret that made Admiral Grant smile with pride. Human ships were not just individually powerful, they were designed to work better when connected to other human ships. The more ships you added to a human fleet, the stronger each individual ship became. Fleet Commander Zalthek watched human mining ships demonstrate capabilities that his military vessels could not match. Civilian human craft performed asteroid mining operations that required precision beyond anything Confederacy engineers thought possible. These were not military demonstrations, they were normal human work activities. Dr. Kevin Barnes transmitted data about human space colonies that existed in environments where no intelligent life should survive. Humans lived inside asteroids and on planets with poisonous atmospheres and in space stations that orbited black holes. They had turned every hostile environment in their solar system into a home. But the real shock came when every human ship, station and settlement in the solar system began moving in perfect coordination. Not through advanced artificial intelligence or hive mind technology, but through voluntary cooperation and shared purpose. Billions of individual humans acting as one without losing their individual identity. Commander Telvar ran calculations that made no sense according to Confederacy science. Human coordination efficiency was higher than species that had evolved collective consciousness. But humans maintained individual creativity and initiative that collective species always lost. They had achieved the benefits of both systems with none of the weaknesses. Fleet Commander Zalthek realized he was watching something unprecedented in galactic history. An entire species acting as a single entity while remaining completely individual. Every human knew exactly what every other human was doing across their entire solar system without any central coordination. The demonstration climaxed when human ships began performing maneuvers that were beautiful rather than practical. They moved in patterns that created art across the darkness of space. Formations that spelled out messages in languages from every human culture. Displays that showed the galaxy what human unity really looked like. Admiral Lisa Grant spoke to Fleet Commander Zalthek while human ships danced around his fleet like schools of fish around sleeping whales. She explained that everything he had just witnessed was not humanity preparing for war. This was how humans worked together every single day. The mining operations and construction projects and scientific research missions all required the same level of coordination the aliens had just seen. Humans did not have special military capabilities. They just applied their normal cooperation skills to defending themselves. Captain Jake Morrison added that human children learned these coordination skills in school. Every human was trained from birth to work with others while maintaining their individual strengths. It was not advanced technology, it was just how human society functioned. Dr. Susan Walsh revealed the final piece of information that changed everything. Humans had been holding back during the demonstration. The ships and weapons and tactics the aliens had seen represented less than half of human capabilities. Earth had been preparing for contact with hostile aliens for decades, and had much more powerful resources in reserve. Fleet Commander Zalthek found himself in a situation no Confederacy commander had ever faced. The species he was supposed to conquer had demonstrated that they could probably defeat his fleet without destroying a single alien ship. Human tactics were so advanced that direct confrontation would be pointless. But more importantly, the aliens realized that humans were not the threat they had appeared to be. Humans were not trying to conquer the galaxy, they were trying to explore it. Their expansion was driven by curiosity and hope, rather than aggression and domination. Engineer Tony Rodriguez transmitted an offer that made Commander Telvar recalculate everything he thought he knew about galactic politics. Humans wanted to share their coordination and engineering discoveries with the Confederacy. They offered to teach other species how to achieve the same level of cooperation and technological advancement. Admiral Lisa Grant made it clear that humanity was not surrendering or submitting to Confederacy authority, but they were willing to work with the aliens as equal partners in exploring and protecting the galaxy. The choice was up to Fleet Commander Zalthek. The alien commander looked at his fleet of crystal ships and realized that they represented old thinking and outdated methods. Humans had shown him a better way to organize civilization, a way that preserved individual freedom while achieving collective goals. For the first time in Confederacy history, a fleet commander was about to make a decision that would change everything. Fleet Commander Zalthek made a decision that would be studied by galactic historians for thousands of years. Instead of following Confederacy protocol and destroying the human threat, he opened direct communication with Admiral Lisa Grant and requested formal diplomatic negotiations as equals. The alien commander explained to his own fleet that humanity represented something the galaxy had not seen in centuries. They were a species that had evolved past the need for traditional power structures while maintaining the ability to act decisively when threatened. The Confederacy could learn from humans rather than simply ruling over them. Commander Telvar initially objected to his commander decision, but changed his mind after studying the human coordination data more carefully. Zephyrian science could not explain how humans achieved such perfect cooperation without sacrificing individual creativity. This was knowledge that could revolutionize every aspect of Confederacy civilization. Admiral Lisa Grant invited Fleet Commander Zalthek to meet aboard the UES Horizon for formal negotiations. The alien commander accepted and brought a small, diplomatic team to begin discussions that would reshape galactic politics. For the first time in Confederacy history, they were negotiating with a species as partners, rather than subjects. Dr. Susan Walsh became humanity's first official ambassador to the Zephyrian Confederacy. Her presentation about human culture and history had started the chain of events that led to this moment. Now she would help build the framework for cooperation between species that were completely different but shared common goals. The negotiations lasted for weeks as both sides learned to communicate across fundamental differences in how they understood society and government. Humans operated through voluntary cooperation and shared responsibility. Zephyrians used hierarchical command structures and centralized authority. Finding common ground required patience and creativity from both species. Dr. Kevin Barnes worked with Commander Telvar to establish the first joint human-alien research program. They would study how different species could maintain their unique characteristics while working together on projects that benefited everyone. The research had implications that went far beyond simple scientific cooperation. Captain Jake Morrison was promoted to lead the new Human Confederacy Liaison Office. His steady leadership during first contact had impressed Fleet Commander Zalthek, who recognized that humans chose their leaders based on proven ability rather than political connections or inherited status. Engineer Amy Rodriguez began working with Zephyrian engineers to design hybrid technologies that combined human innovation with alien knowledge. The first project was a new type of space station that could adapt to different environments while maintaining perfect efficiency. Human flexibility merged with Zephyrian precision created results neither species could achieve alone. 6 months after first contact, Lieutenant Colonel Jamie Scott oversaw construction of Unity Station in the space between Earth and the Zephyrian homeworld. The station was built using both human and alien technologies and served as a symbol of what cooperation could accomplish. The station itself was revolutionary. Human engineers had solved problems that Zephyrian scientists thought were impossible, while alien knowledge had shown humans new ways to think about energy and space. The combination created a facility that was more advanced than anything either species had built independently. Fleet Commander Zalthek spent time learning about human customs and found himself fascinated by concepts that Zephyrian society had forgotten. Humans had ideas about friendship and voluntary association that the Confederacy had lost during their rise to galactic power. Individual relationships mattered more to humans than formal agreements. Chief Engineer Amy Rodriguez taught the alien commander about human friendship by simply treating him like any other person she worked with. She shared meals and told jokes and asked about his family back on the Zephyrian homeworld. Slowly, Fleet Commander Zalthek remembered what it felt like to connect with another individual, rather than just following diplomatic protocol. The changes were not limited to human-alien relationships. Other Confederacy species began asking questions about why humans were treated as equals when they had been forced into submission. The human example showed that there were alternatives to the traditional power structure that had governed the galaxy for millennia. Dr. Susan Walsh received reports from throughout Confederacy space about species that were demanding greater autonomy and representation in galactic government. The human model of voluntary cooperation was spreading faster than anyone had expected. Old assumptions about how civilization should be organized were being challenged everywhere. Commander Telvar published research papers that revolutionized Confederacy understanding of social organization and technological development. Human society achieved results that Zephyrian science had considered impossible. Species that maintained individual freedom, while working toward collective goals, were not just viable, they were superior to traditional hierarchical systems. Admiral Lisa Grant established the Human Defense Initiative, which transformed how Earth approached galactic security. Instead of building weapons to fight aliens, humans developed technologies and strategies to protect all species from external threats. Human military thinking focused on preservation rather than destruction. The galaxy began to change in ways that nobody had anticipated. Species that had been enemies for generations started communicating directly instead of going through Confederacy mediators. Trade relationships developed based on mutual benefit rather than imposed regulation. Scientific research accelerated as different cultures shared knowledge freely. Fleet Commander Zalthek eventually returned to the Confederacy capital to report on his experiences with humanity. His recommendations led to the first major reform of galactic government in over 1,000 years. The Confederacy evolved from a rigid empire into a voluntary association of independent species working toward common goals. A year after first, Contact Captain Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of Unity Station and watched ships from dozens of different species working together on projects throughout the solar system. Human crews worked alongside alien engineers on tasks that would have been impossible for any single species to accomplish. The day humanity shocked the stars had become the day the galaxy remembered what it meant to grow and change and explore new possibilities. Humans had not conquered the Confederacy through superior weapons or technology. They had transformed it by demonstrating that cooperation was stronger than control, and that diversity was more valuable than uniformity. Dr. Kevin Barnes often reflected that humanity's greatest contribution to galactic civilization was not their engineering or their science, but their stubborn refusal to accept that things had to stay the same. Humans never stopped believing that tomorrow could be better than today, and that working together was always better than fighting alone. The galaxy was no longer the same place it had been before humans reached for the stars. It was something new and better and full of possibilities that nobody had imagined. The day humanity shocked the stars had become the beginning of a new age for everyone who called the galaxy home.